Hello, my name is Dr. Mark Spencer and I am the Honorary Curator here at the Linnean Society of London. The Society is incredibly fortunate in having the personal collections of Carl Linnaeus and James Edward Smith, and these collections, the herbariums, are one of the most important scientific resources for us botanists around the world. We also have another very special and overlooked collection. It is our carpological collection. And carpological collections are collections of seeds, fruits, bits of wood, strange lumpy things that we can't put onto a piece of paper. So we have to keep them in boxes. And our carpological collection, frankly, has been neglected for most of the last 100 years or so. So we have decided to recurate, conserve and research the collection. And through that process of research, we've been starting to learn lots of new fascinating things. And that's one of the things I've written about in our Treasures book. One of the sets of material in the carpological collection are a series of little paper packages, each one of which is folded over on the outside with a roughly scrawled drawing of a plant flipped over with a quick name written on it, inside collections of seeds. Several of these packets actually come from Norfolk Island, and they are historically fascinating, we're now beginning to realise. They appear to have been collected by a man called Lieutenant Philip Gidley King. Now, Gidley King was actually on the first fleet when the British decided to set up a penal colony in New South Wales. And in 1788, the British decided to set up an additional colony in Norfolk Island. So King, 15 convicts and 7 free men headed off to Norfolk Island to set up this colony. They were doing it for a very, very specific purpose, however. And that purpose was that the British desperately needed to break the power of Catherine the Great of Russia, because Catherine the Great and the Russians controlled the flax and the world hemp trade, and those were all important commodities for the British. We needed those for our navy, for making sails and ropes. And on Norfolk Island was growing a plant called New Zealand flax, which not surprisingly also grows in New Zealand. And New Zealand flax, the British had already learned from the Maori of New Zealand, could be used to make fibres, to weave, make clothing, make ropes, etc., etc. So the British decided that they wanted to start cultivating New Zealand flax on Norfolk Island. So they set up the colony, started growing thousands and thousands of plants, and then the question came, how do we process this material? To which everybody went, don't know. Absolutely no idea how to process it. So what happened was a terrible event, frankly, was that the British went back to New Zealand and they kidnapped 2 Maori men and they forcibly took them up to Norfolk Island with the aim of learning from them how to actually process flax leaves to make fibre, etc. The men, when they arrived at Norfolk Island, when presented with this task, turned around to the British and said, "We don't know, because this is work for women." Because at that time in Maori culture, preparation of flax fibres was not something that men did. So ultimately the venture failed. The British realised ultimately they really couldn't make an effective and successful go of processing New Zealand flax on Norfolk Island, and they moved elsewhere to start producing rope. But we have this incredible legacy in our collections of these little paper capsules that ultimately were sent back to James Edward Smith from Lieutenant King back to the Linnean Society, where they reside with our other wonderful objects in our collection.